another week and we have another saint. And as I was deciding on the saint this week, I thought of my very special cousin who's celebrating his birthday today. And his name happens to be Christopher John. And as I was talking to my sister about this yesterday, she said, you know what? Saint Christopher happens to have a very interesting story behind his name. So I did my research, and that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. I hope you like the story, guys. We are starting our story with a little boy called Reprobus. Reprobus is not a very common name anymore. In fact, I don't think you're gonna find anyone with that name. But when Saint Christopher was born, this was what his parents gave him. And he was born a very unusual child. He happened to be bigger and taller and stronger than anyone of his age. So he had a little reputation of being not a bully exactly, but somebody who was really just asserting himself, you know? Anyway, when Reprobus was one time playing with his friends in the forest, there was an animal stuck under a tree. And this was where they saw how strong he was. He actually lifted that huge part of the tree so that the animal was able to escape. Now, when Reprobus eventually became older, he had a passion for power and strength. And in his mind, these were the most important things. So he made this resolve to serve the strongest king in the land. And so he searched far and wide, and finally, eventually, he heard of this king who happened to be the guy. So he went to this king, and nobody could stop him, because as he was walking through the gates of the kingdom, here was a 7-foot guy with a giant sword, with a shield, with muscles. You know, nobody would dare stop him. So he eventually led the king's troops. He eventually served the army. But one time, as he was in the kingdom, a poet came to visit and told the king a story. So this poet was talking to the king about stories of how evil was just creating chaos in the kingdom. And then Reprobus had this notion that, you know what? If the king is afraid of evil, then you know what? I'm serving the wrong person. I should serve evil. And this is where Reprobus made a really wrong turn and started being this awful person, ravaging the country with a band of equally fearful men, and they would burn houses, they would steal crops, they would steal livestock, they would just make trouble for so many people. Now, one time when he was riding with these terrible men, they came across a symbol in the forest. And the symbol happened to be a cross that was on the ground. And the leader saw it and said to the men, we're not going to go through this town. We are going to go around it. We are not going to touch this town. And Reprobus forced him to talk to him about what was going on, because he couldn't understand why this fearsome leader who had such success creating so much trouble for so many others wouldn't even dare go through this town just because of a symbol at their gates. Eventually, the leader told him about Jesus Christ and how Jesus died on the cross. And so Reprobus suddenly thought to himself, I am in the wrong group. There is somebody stronger than this guy. And so he told the leader that he was going to stop serving him, that he was going to stop running with the crowd, and was going to look for Jesus. So he did. And it took him years. He went through the desert. He was told to go up the mountain. He was told to go to the sea. People were just telling him to find Jesus all over the place, because he would just ask, where does Jesus live? Where can I find him? And so as he went through his search, He eventually found a monk who saw his passion and told him about Jesus Christ. And Reprobus was overwhelmed with the reality that this indeed is where strength lies, in this Jesus. And so he said to the monk, with this sword, with this shield, with my armor and my strength, I am going to serve Christ. And the monk told him, Reprobus, you don't need a sword or a shield or your armor to serve the Lord of love. What you need to do is to construct a house near the river so that you can help pilgrims to cross it, because they come from so far away that when they end up along the banks of the river to cross it, they're just too tired. Besides, the river's current is just too strong. So Reprobus took this advice and constructed his house, and soon enough, true enough, pilgrims came. And on his shoulder, he would carry them across the river. And one day he heard a voice. There was a very strong storm, and this voice was calling his name, Reprobus, Reprobus. And he could hear it. And on the third time, he stood up, opened his door, and saw a boy outside his house. And so the boy asked him for help to cross the river. So he did. Reprobus put the boy on his shoulder as he did all the other pilgrims, and as he was crossing the river, he felt the boy suddenly just become so heavy. And in his humility, he set aside his pride. He cried out, Christ, help me. I need to cross the river with this boy. And he did. And when he put down the boy introduced himself as the child Jesus and told him, Reprobus, you just carry the weight of the world on your shoulders and the Creator with it. And Reprobus was baptized on that river by this boy, Jesus, and named him Christopher, which means Christ bearer. And that started this real service that Saint Christopher gave to Jesus, which was to talk of his love and his concern for others. It's interesting to me how Reprobus initially thought that it was solely his strength that he was going to need to bring Christ to the people and to bring the people closer to God. But really, in the end, it was his humility and obedience that helped people understand Jesus' love better. Whenever you think that you're not enough, think instead that every one of us was given a gift, a skill that you can use for God's greater glory. No matter how small you think it is, it's still yours and yours alone, and a gift from God. Take care, guys. We're all in this together. God bless you. Have a great week ahead.